Welcome to All About Coding. This is a two-part video series that will cover what we at CZU Finance know about the new Fiscal coding as of January 2019. This video might need to be updated later if information changes. This is part one of the series, and we'll look at the different bits of coding we have to use in Fiscal, what they mean, and where you find them. Part 2, a separate video, will show some coding examples, including split coding, at use in Fiscal itself. You should watch the Creating a Basic Purchase Order video first, before watching Part 2, so the part about using it in Fiscal makes sense. Part 1, the codes. We used to use CalSTARS coding to specify what part of the budget a purchase was spending against. The same way you might consider your paycheck and think, all right, I need $500 for groceries, $500 for utilities, my truck needs some work, so another $500 there, $100 for my dad's birthday next week, and so on. The state also divides its money up for different purposes, and the coding we use helps prevent truck money from getting spent on dad's birthday. Previously, you put 4 codes plus the amount here on the Standard 65, seen in the green box. When your Standard 65 arrived at Unit Finance, I added some more codes to the Charge Against box that were probably never explained to you because it wasn't your responsibility to know them. In Fiscal, some of those codes, the ones you entered and the ones I entered, are still in use, just the same. Others have altered somewhat or have new names, but the coding in Fiscal serves the same purpose as our old coding, to specify what part of the budget we're spending against. I'll go through them one at a time in detail, but here's a quick look at what the old codes are called now. You can see that most of the codes we already used in some form. They're just changing a little, or a lot in some cases. I'll go through them one by one. Fiscal year. This is the same. The fiscal year still starts July 1st and ends June 30th, and is named with the year it started in, offset 6 months from the calendar year. For example, although it's January 24th, 2019 today, we're still in fiscal year 2018. Fiscal requires we use all 4 numbers in the year, not just the last 2. And they abbreviate it ENY, which stands for enactment year. Remember that when you're using it in Fiscal, you are telling Fiscal what year's budget to take the money from, regardless of what fiscal year we're currently in. Reporting structure is the Fiscal term for our index. Our index numbers, in terms of Fiscal, have changed a little too. CAL FIRE's number 3540 has been added on the front. The camp ends in a 3, the forest in a 2, and the rest of CZU in a 1. You can see our good old 1700 hiding inside. These numbers are used to tell Fiscal whose budget to charge. Object codes are now account codes, and all the codes are different. This is one of the biggest changes to the coding, and it will take some time to get used to the new numbers. There is a 13-page PDF cheat sheet that helps translate our old codes to the new ones. You can find it on the CZU online portal in the Finance section. There are also alt account codes here in the second column, which are sort of like the numbers that would appear after the decimal for some of our old object codes. In this example, you can see a .02 in our old object code after the 525, which indicated this was diesel fuel being purchased. These alt object codes kind of serve the same purpose and are also here on this cheat sheet. Account codes indicate what part of our budget to charge. PCAs are now called service location, but the codes are all the same. However, they don't actually do anything. This field, service location in Fiscal, is an empty field no longer connected to the budget that each state department can use for whatever they want. CAL FIRE is using it for our PCAs because we are all familiar with PCAs, and you'll soon see that the PCA is used as a key for us to figure out what other codes we use for our purchases. Program is one of the codes purchasers in the field probably never dealt with, but now it's a code that everyone who makes a PO will have to enter. For those who are familiar with using the old program codes, like folks in finance, the ones we're using now are different. Here's a sample of some program codes based on the PCA. You can see that some PCAs have the same program codes. As more budgets become available in Fiscal, a more complete list of program codes will be provided so purchasers can choose the right one. GL unit. This one is easy. GL unit is 3540, CAL FIRE's number, and is always, so far, entered for you in Fiscal by default. It refers to the whole CAL FIRE budget, and you shouldn't have to ever worry about entering this yourself, unless you notice it's missing for some reason. APROP-REF, which I think stands for Appropriation Reference, is a code chosen based on the PCA. Fund is also chosen based on the PCA. Here's a partial chart of some of both of these codes that we know are in the budget. Those are the codes you'll need for non-eFund purchases. You'll enter them in Fiscal in the Chart Fields section, as I'll show you in part 2 of this series. To summarize, here's the list of the codes you'll need for every non-eFund purchase in Fiscal. Obviously, you won't magically know many of these numbers. As they become available to finance, we'll pass along cheat sheets to you. If they change, this video will have to be removed and updated. For 0900 purchases, there's some extra coding, just like there has always been. In the past, that just meant adding the incident number to your purchase documents. For Fiscal, you'll add a slightly different incident number, now called the project ID, an activity code, and a PC business unit code. The PC business code is the easiest. It's 3540, CAL FIRE's number, just like the GL unit code I mentioned a minute ago. At this time, it seems that the activity code is also easy. We are being told to use 01 for all incidents. The incident number, now called the project ID, will look something like this. It's similar to how we used to do it. The F at the front stands for fire. The 18 is from the calendar year, not the fiscal year. The rest is the same as we've always used, but without the CA that used to precede our incident numbers. This concludes part 1 of this video. In part 2, I will give you some examples of using this coding in Fiscal, including how to do split coding, where you charge to more than one part of a budget in a single purchase. Please be sure to watch the video on how to create a basic purchase order before watching part 2, so you'll be able to follow along.